So hello and welcome to tonight's workshop organized by the SSE Alumni Office on how to stand out on LinkedIn. My name is Anna Monson and I work here at SSE at the Alumni Office, and I'm so happy to see so many of you here, both students and alumni, online and in person. We are pleased to have SSE alum and account director at LinkedIn, Anna Kalashnikova, and her colleague here, Monica Abelström, with us today, who will give you insights on how to use LinkedIn effectively in your job search and make yourself visible to future employers. Before we start, I want to mention some housekeeping rules. So due to the number of participants, we've muted you who are joining us on Zoom, but we encourage you to share your questions for the speakers in the chat to me, Anna Monson. There will be time for a Q&A session after the presentation. Also, we'll be recording this workshop and make it available afterwards. So please then note that it's only the speakers who are on video and not you in the audience. However, any questions asked by the live audience during the Q&A will of course be recorded, not on video, but you know, your voices will be recorded. So if you want to stay somewhat anonymous, you can avoid mentioning your name, but now you're all informed. So with that said, welcome, and I'll let you take the floor.
Thank you so much, Anna. And now I also want to make sure that the mic is working. Yes, okay, perfect. So thank you so much for the introduction, Anna, and for both myself and Monica here are really happy to be here. I think I'll just to add on to Anna's introduction, it's maybe the third time I think I'm doing this kind of workshop here at SSE, and I'm always so happy to come back because my years at SSE were just a really great experience and I miss that time dearly. So that feels kind of nice to be here always. I did a master's program in management. It was called back then. I think it's called something else now. And I started in 2010, so I was done by 2012. So it was like 10 years ago, which feels completely crazy. Yes, so today we're going to speak about LinkedIn and how to use this platform for advancing in your career. I will, for video purposes, I will try to stay in here and not walk around too much. So please let me know if that's okay. I will both be sharing some slides with you, but also be demoing some of the things. I feel always it's nice to have an interactive session. So if you have questions, raise your hand and ask straight ahead if you want to. And also Anna here will be also looking at the chat. So if we do have a lot of questions in the chat, we will probably have to take them at the end, but we'll see how it goes and we will try to make it interactive. Yes, so let's get started, and let's hope that technology is on our side, because it's been quite a challenge here. But first we're going to speak about so what is LinkedIn, what kind of network it is, and what kind of purpose it can serve for you and for your career. We're also going to talk a little bit about defining your professional brand as to connected to LinkedIn, and how to present yourself, how to build your LinkedIn profile. And here I'm not going to go through how you fill in things online. You probably have done this before, but I'm hopefully going to give you some tips and tricks that you can use to make your profile more attractive, more searchable, so that you can stand out for prospective employers or people within your network. We also are going to talk about how to build your professional network on LinkedIn and a little bit on the value of doing that, how to use that network as well to help yourself connect to opportunity. And I'm also going to show some tips on how to look for jobs on LinkedIn as well. That said, all of this I'm going to do in a little bit of different order, so bear with me. I'm not great at you know, following exact structure, but I hope to make it more interesting instead. This is a little bit of a funny analogy with donuts, but bear with me here. I just want to put things into perspective when it comes to what kind of network LinkedIn is and what kind of network it is not. What do you do on social media? And let's take donut as an example. Facebook, I like donuts. Snapchat, watch me eat a donut. Instagram, here's a cool photo of my donut. Pinterest, here's a donut recipe. Spotify, I'm listening to donuts. And WhatsApp, anyone want a donut? Well, LinkedIn is more of a place where you would be saying things like, I hope to operate a donut franchise one day. Or I'm looking for a job at a donut company. Or I have 3 years of experience making donuts. My top skills are within donut production and sales. And here are the 3 recommendations I have from former colleagues. So this really, I think, is kind of a easy way to differentiate LinkedIn when it comes to your actions on the platform. And truly, jokes aside, I mean, LinkedIn is a place where you can build your professional network and connect to opportunity. And when we talk about connecting to opportunity, it can be a job, but it doesn't always have to be only a job. It can be maybe your next gig in terms of freelance work, or maybe you want to start your own business and it can be connecting to your customers and prospects. So truly connecting to opportunity in this case can mean a lot of different things. In reality, there are more than 50 million employers who are active on LinkedIn every day, and there are millions of jobs open every day as well. The network currently has 870 million members and growing every second, actually. Those members sit in over 200 countries. So it is really, really big network, and there is a lot of opportunity to take advantage of using it, really. There are also 2.9 million groups on LinkedIn, so you can grow your community as well. Any questions so far, reflections? No. So if we talk about the professional brand, because as I mentioned, so this is LinkedIn is the place to showcase that and build your professional brand. I'm not here to make a lecture on branding or personal branding for that matter, but an easy way to think about it is who you are professionally. What is your promise to, well, yourself, I guess, and people around you as well. It kind of tells people what they can expect from working with you, what it's like to work with you. And it also shows how you are unique compared to other people. So whatever you do on LinkedIn actually helps you shape that professional brand and the way you present to others. And there's 2 aspects of this about defining your professional brand. So one aspect is to show that you're the right choice, whatever it may be that is related to. So it includes who you are now, what kind of skills you have, which school you went to, what kind of jobs you have had before. It also includes what kind of network you have right now and the information in terms of areas of expertise. But the other aspect of that is actually who you want to be in the future. And I think especially if you're early in your career, this aspect is way more important even maybe than what you are now, because you're learning and in the process of building a professional brand. So think about also your values, things that are important to you, things that maybe you want to solve in the future, your aspirations, and also what you want to be doing in 2, 10, or 30 years. There is one other important reason, like speaking of, building a professional brand, there is one important reason among just being on LinkedIn, apart from just being on LinkedIn, to actually build out a great profile. And that's because if you have a good LinkedIn profile, you will be on top search results in Google if someone looks by your name. So that is something to consider, really. So let's talk a little bit about the profile itself and some tips of building that. As I said, this is not going to be a very basic description of how to build your profile, but I just want to really emphasize the importance of having a photo on your profile. Members with profile photos receive up to 21 times more views and 9 times more connection requests than people without. And also it's really important to make sure that your photo is a good one. So I usually approach it in a way. So how do you want to represent yourself as your professional self? So what do you are, for example, at work? So think about it that way. It shouldn't be a selfie or a picture maybe with your pet or some family member. It rather should be a picture of your face, maybe with torso. And it's good to smile. So not to be too uptight, be yourself, but also keep it professional. I once received a question, is it like a passport photo? And the answer is no, absolutely not. Just be yourself. And this is actually not something I'm going to, this is something I'm going to show you in the demo later. But I just want to also talk about the headline. So you probably noticed when you fill in your LinkedIn profile, there is a headline, which kind of, you're free to put in there anything you want, job title, what you're doing right now. Oh, I'm a, I don't know, a blockchain enthusiast or something. You know, people can be really creative with these things. So as a matter of fact, the professional headline is something that the first thing or the only thing in very many ways, apart from your name, that people see when they search on LinkedIn. So make it matter. It matters what you put in there. So think about it very well and ask yourself some questions to kind of help, you know, yourself find that professional headline. If it's the only thing someone sees, what does it say about me? Does this represent my professional brand? Does it show why I'm unique? And does it capture what a recruiter would care about? So a very simple way, if you, for example, are working already, you can just put your job title. That's the easiest way out. I use that, admit it, but it's totally fine and totally welcome to be more creative than that and really think about your professional brand here. And another thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit more is the summary. So as a matter of fact, maybe I can use my own profile here as an example. So I was talking before, when you build your professional brand and when you think about, so these are my skills, this is who I am right now as one aspect, and the other one, who do I want to be? So, and again, especially if you're starting your career, if you don't have a lot of work experience yet, this is also a great kind of place to showcase who you want to be as well. And the summary, it should be really sort of an elevator pitch about yourself. So again, in short, these are my skills, these are my interests, this is what I can do. But also it can include things like, I am looking for to build a career in digital marketing, or I am interested in financial management, and this is really something I aspire for. So this is where you can really explain your story and say, this is who I am right now. This is who I want to be. And why is it so important to write that? Is because whichever keywords you put or you don't put on your profile, if they're not there, no one will find you based on them. So for example, if you don't have work experience as a financial manager, but you want to be one, this is the place to write it. And this is also a place to help you show up in search results as someone who's interested in it for recruiters, among others. So think about it really well. Any questions so far? No? Yeah.
So my main skills, that is where you ensure to be defined.
So yeah, so this is the place where you kind of describe yourself in brief, fairly brief. You know, you can write better more than nothing.
Lots of
Yeah, I added this here. You don't have to do that, but you can, yeah. The most important idea is to think about keywords and make sure they're added somewhere on your profile. But of course, you know, so this is the kind of the about section is the summary, you know, of yourself. But there is a place where you can write more. And that's in the work experience, where you can, you know, add the different sections where you have worked. And this is where you can really, you know, describe every job in detail. And this is actually, so I haven't added that yet because it's a new feature. But when you edit your work experience, you can even add skills related to every specific job you've had. So not overall skills that you've learned during your lifetime, but actually, okay, this was my job and this is the skills. This is where you do that. The skills I learned at that job. So very much encouraging to use that also. Did that answer the question? So that's on the profile. Think keywords. Again, when you're writing about your job description, you can, you know, make bullet points, you can make paragraphs of text. My kind of rule that I always recommend everyone to use, better write more than less. Because again, whatever you don't write, you will never be able to be found by. So no one will guess about you, who you are, unless you say it. And I'm going to give you an example of how recruiters actually search for talent on LinkedIn. So this is a tool called LinkedIn Recruiter. And this is something that organizations use to find talent, as simple as that. And whenever you make a search on Recruiter, there is a lot of different filters you can use. Most people will use, for example, job titles or keywords and skills. So again, you add a skill, digital marketing, or a keyword to your profile, you will be found by it. You don't add it, no one will find it. So yeah. So that is something to think about for sure. Yeah.
You mentioned it's good to have more.
Yeah.
So question about the keywords. I'm wondering how your algorithm is tracing these keywords, because of course you can put keywords into the different job experiences. You can put it under the profile description.
Yeah.
How do you make it as lean as possible and as quickly possible as we can? Because I guess if you write too much, then the algorithm also maybe not finding the right ones.
No, I mean, the most important is that you add them as like a separate word or a properly written word, you know, without typos, without maybe like a modification of a word that no one's using. So try to think standard skills, standard, you know, and actually when you're filling out your LinkedIn profile, the skill section, it will recommend you skills as well. So use that, use the standard versions of everything. If you're in doubt, go to other people's profiles who already work in this area, see what they're using, what's the most common ones. So try to be as standardized as possible, because there is a taxonomy in the LinkedIn's search system, and that taxonomy lies kind of behind everything. It's smart, so it will still find things, but it will help it if it's standard.
And the place where you put it within your profile, it doesn't matter that much.
So much, actually.
So it is job experience or your personal description.
It doesn't matter so much, actually. Yeah.
Thank you.
I can add something there as well. There's 39,000 different skills defined in the taxonomy, so it's quite a big background, you know, on how it searches after that.
Yeah, exactly. And so for those who didn't hear online, Monica said indeed that there is 39,000 different skills mapped out in our taxonomy. So kind of connecting to that helps. So just use whatever drop downs you have in LinkedIn, and that's the best way.
I was just going to follow up with regards to the skills. When the recruiter searches the taxonomy, does it only capture skills in explicit skills sections or in keywords such as ones you had in your kind of profile description?
So yeah, you guys are really onto this, huh? Okay. So the way it works is some of the skills are explicit on the profile, and some of them, and I'm looking for the right word, maybe it's derived could be the word. So some of them are indeed derived from what you're writing about. And that applies to everything, to jobs, for example, that are promoted on LinkedIn, but also to people's profiles. So inferred maybe is the way, yeah. So some of them are explicit, some of them LinkedIn will pick out from it what you're writing. So as I said, it's smart, but the more standard you use it, again, the process of inferring those skills for the system will be easier.
Yes, also related to the skills part, if I have different experiences that are similar, is it better to put the name of the general name of the skill on all of them, or have different names but which are synonymous for the skills to have a variety for the algorithm to find me?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I mean, I think I would still use you don't need to write too much if it's like tiny little variations. So I would still use the ones that come to mind. It will find you on similar things as well. Yeah. So don't go completely, worried about it and add everything. That's also, I guess, too much. Yeah. If that makes sense. Oh, the mic. Okay, next.
What about repetition? So from a visual point of view, if I look at a profile and I always see, for example, the same keywords, that might be a little bit jarring. But in terms of the algorithm itself, for example, does it help you with your score or not?
Repetition, it doesn't really care about it, honestly. Yeah. I would though think about it from the aesthetical point of view, because of course people who will search for you and they find you and then they see you have weird profile, maybe that doesn't give a great image of you. Yeah, but in the algorithm perspective, yeah, no, it doesn't matter so much. Doesn't matter at all, really. Yeah.
If you have it, for example, similar jobs and therefore similar skills or similar things.
Yeah, no, that doesn't matter for the algorithms actually at all.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the job title as well, since that's like a commonly searched word. So I work in a large company, but a lot of the roles we have are actually like they're named in a very internal name. I don't know, like if any other companies have the same namings of the titles. Should I try to translate it then? It also feels like I'm coming up with the role I actually don't really have, but at the same time I understand it might not make sense, and it definitely doesn't help this algorithm.
Good question. So I recommend if it's super strange or very not used, to try to find something that's more common. Yeah, I think that would definitely help. But also want to mention something. So when recruiters are searching on LinkedIn and they use job titles as a filter, so if we take marketing manager, for example, something you see here is this little, list thing. So what it actually is that it groups a lot of, like titles into one when you add marketing manager. So it will find people for you, even if they don't have exactly that one. And yet, if it's something that's not widely used in the industry and super internal, yeah, I would change that. And for example, some companies have like abbreviation. So for example, marketing manager, and then it will be like CPV and I don't know, whatever. I'm not referring to marketing terms. I'm referring to, I don't know, name of department. That's fine, but make sure it's separate. It's not like part of the word, so that the word could be read by the system. Any other questions on this? No, anything online? Okay, so yeah, so that's like my, I think, yeah, #1 tip about the profile, listing these keywords. And that's a great way to kind of to think about it. Now I was thinking maybe since we are on the demo already, maybe we could cover a little bit on how to search for jobs on LinkedIn. And then we can go back to the presentation where I can talk a little bit more about networking, if that's okay. So for jobs, there can be different ways to look at that. For one thing, something that we recommend to do is to make sure that you're showing that you're open to jobs. So on your profile, there is a section, it's called Open To, and you can find here, finding a new job, if that's something you're looking for. You can choose here, for starters, different titles, workplaces, on-site, hybrid, remote, locations. Make sure to fill in all that, because again, when a recruiter is looking for a person, they can actually sort by and look what kind of things they're interested in when you're looking for a job. You can also choose who sees that you're open. So either you get this green badge and that gives you visibility for everybody, or you can say recruiters only. So that will be people who actually have access to the recruiter tool who can search for you and see that you're open. So excluding though the people from your own organization. So if you're already working and you don't want recruiters in your company to see that, don't worry. If you don't choose the green badge, but just this one, they will not see you. We can't guarantee that 100%, but 99% they won't see that you're looking, that is. They will see your profile, but not that you're looking. So that's for starters when it comes to being open to jobs. There's of course the job section on LinkedIn that you can explore. And something that LinkedIn will do is recommend you jobs over here, for example, but you can also search for things that can be interesting. And here you can search, for example, about by things such as, you know, your job title or similar. Here it's even suggesting me to search by account director, which is my job title. You can search by, for example, remote or something like that. And by, of course, location. So I'm not going to focus on this too much, but something that's really nice, though, is you can set up job alerts based on the criteria you're interested in. So, or maybe we can do it in another way. You can also search by companies. So, for example, if we look at Microsoft, and then you're thinking, okay, Microsoft is an interesting company to work for. I click on their jobs. Here are some of the jobs LinkedIn's recommending on the front page, but I want to see them all. And this is where you can, for example, sort by, well, not worldwide, but Stockholm or Sweden. Doesn't matter. And then maybe you can use other filters that you want. And this is where you can set an alert. And LinkedIn will send you a notification once a new job with your criteria has come up. So you can be one among the first ones to apply. So that's a good way to use that for job search. And speaking of job search, you know, sometimes it can help to start with kind of identifying what companies am I even interested in. And this is a great tool for that matter. So for example, if you are interested in Microsoft, or if you are interested in, I don't know, like I can use my former employer, Universum. So you can go to their page, check out the jobs, set a job alert. Something you can also do, you can see, oh, pages people are also viewed. What are the similar companies? In this case, maybe actually not so very similar, but sometimes it recommends you very similar companies that can be, oh, actually, yeah, they're pretty good. Potential Park, this is all, yeah, similar. So you can actually explore companies in that way, the ones that you could be potentially interested in. So pages people also viewed. And this, and set up job alerts, for example, for all of them. So then you can be on top of things in your job search. Any questions on this? No. Yes, so let's go back maybe to the presentation. So yeah, I also wanted to speak a little bit about building your professional network. Why is it so important? As a matter of fact, is actually because 50% of all hires that we see on LinkedIn result from a personal connection. It means that you're connected to someone before you get hired. So yes, online job search is real, and it's totally possible to find a job without having a connection. But also, yes, that it still happens via referrals, via connections, via recommendations. And sorry, did I break the, no, is okay? And you have the opportunity to tap into that network, of course. Because how does, networking really work? So let's say that's yourself, you have your personal connections, your family, your friends, your colleagues. That is something we call your first degree connections. Then those people all have also their own connections. Their connections who you're not directly connected to are something we call your second degree connections. Those people have in turn, of course, their own network. And, maybe you've heard about this rule of 4 handshakes or something like that. So, we're all connected after all. And so is LinkedIn, it's kind of a reflection of that in a digital world. So think about that. And it is extremely important to kind of know that it's there and that people who you know can be a connection to someone else you don't know yet in the future. And I think it's totally acceptable on LinkedIn to reach out to people you don't know if you have a good reason. So for example, if there's someone you don't know and you have a connection in common, one of the great ways could be to just, connect with them, write a message and describe why you want to reach out. As a matter of fact, people are more open to help than you might think. And the worst thing that can happen is that they don't respond. But more often than not, you will see that actually they do. So what are the ways to build your network using LinkedIn? So start with simply, adding your friends and family. Probably you have already done that. Your current and former colleagues, of course, people you have maybe studied with, worked with, and so on. The more you start adding people LinkedIn will also get better at recommending connections to you based on who you might know. And I'm pretty amazed with that feature because sometimes I go through that thing and it really gives me people that really should be in my network. And there's this under my network tab on LinkedIn, as simple as that. There's this people you may know that you can look at. So add them. The other way is to search for new connections, of course. So you can simply search for people and you can sort by, for example, these are my second degree connection, meaning that we have a connection in common with them, locations, current companies they work for, and so on and so forth. And this is where you can be a little bit strategic about building out your network. So who do you really want to add to your network? People who you have something in common with, people who have a job or at a company, for example, that you want to work for, or people who may be able to connect you to someone who can help you achieve your goal, whatever that goal may be. And whenever you're getting introduced, say who you are, how you came across their profile, why you're basically contacting them, how you found them, and how can they help you. That is the best recommendation. And as I said, people actually like to help each other more than you think sometimes. Yeah, and some other ways of how you can reach out to people that you don't know yet. You can, of course, write to them a message. And you can, for example, ask for an informational interview. Let's say you're interested in some topic and you see a person who is an expert in your field. Ask them for, do you have a few minutes to tell me about this? I'm really, really curious to know. Or if you would like to request a referral, you can, for example, and here I think I had an example of requesting a referral. You can just, find the person, let's say they work at the company you are interested in, maybe in the team you're interested to join. And you can just simply ask them, I'm very curious about that opportunity. Do you have some time to catch up? Honestly, I've pretty much said yes every time someone reaches out to me about this. And I know other people do as well. If the message is written in a nice way, of course. So think about that as well. And as a matter of fact, what we see also on LinkedIn is that the LinkedIn members are 4 times more likely to get hired when they are referred. So use that when you have the opportunity. And another thing you can do is request a recommendation, and that you can do from your LinkedIn profile. So there's a section, recommendations. If you don't have it, you can always go and click on add section, so it will be there. And this is where you can reach out to someone you know, for example, and say, hi, we worked together on this project or something like that. Or you were my mentor 2 years ago. Could you write me a referral about how it was to collaborate with me? And then speaking about, posting on LinkedIn, how that should be done. Because one thing, of course, is adding connections, but another thing is also being present in your own newsfeed and in the newsfeed of your connections. Because whenever you post something, and that is, of course, the case with other networks as well, it will be visible in the feeds of people who are in your network, in your first-degree connections. But if someone in your network likes your post, for example, or comments on it or interacts in a visible way, then people in their network will also see that, and so on and so forth. So it can be really, actually, sometimes some posts on LinkedIn can reach record engagement if they're written correctly. So think about that. And actually, when it comes to like looking for opportunities or requesting, reaching out for help for your network for any reason whatsoever, to help you with your new business idea or to recruit someone or to get hired, just writing a LinkedIn post in a nice way can sometimes go a really, really, really long way. And we have a lot of examples of that. For example, there's a lot of people who recently came from Ukraine to Sweden. I know myself several people who actually wrote a post, tagged some people they know, added some hashtags and said, look, I'm here in Sweden. I'm looking for a new job right now. Can someone help? And there's been thousands of reactions and lots of suggestions for interviews, and they got hired. Of course, I mean, situations are different, but once again, if you write it right, it can actually reach a very large target group. So do invest time in your connections in that sense. And whenever you post something, be thoughtful as well of how does it impact your brand, but also be genuine, as simple as that. Genuine, but respectful, I guess, is what I mean to say about being mindful. Speaking of liking and sharing things, this is what I mentioned. So people will see, people who, when you like something, people in your network will also see that you liked it. So that will also spread the word. You can, of course, also join groups and exchange different insights with people that, are dedicated to a specific area, which is also a great way actually to network and find some people that could be interesting for you to talk to. And you can also give testimonials and recommendations to other people as well. That's another way to interact. Yes, sure.
When you like something, is that spoken? When you like something, that's simultaneous.
Yeah.
Hello. When you like something, is it simultaneous or is it like Facebook? It's sent when you would like it to be sent.
It's sent when you like it to send.
If I do, if I like something at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, will it be sent at that time, or do you send it later or the day after or something?
Yeah, so it's a good question.
The thing is, I don't want to send things in the middle of a day, for example, because that's not good.
Yeah, so whenever you post something on LinkedIn, the best engagement you reach if you post in the morning or in the evening. So commute hours, we call that. Midday, less engagement, still there is, but less, and nothing in the night usually, or depending on time zone, of course. And weekends are much calmer. So yeah, if that's something you want to think about, yes. There is, I think, a new feature coming up on LinkedIn where you can schedule your posts on LinkedIn, even as a average user, not as a company or something. So that's, I think, can help also if you already wrote it and you want to schedule it for a certain time. But when you like something, I mean, it goes out to the network immediately that you've liked it. So it will show up in other people's feeds. But it also, there's so many factors in play, you know, with all these algorithms. When does the other person open their mobile phone and look at that, you know, and when does that third person, and so on. So, and how many other people have done actions in their feed so that may be prioritized to yours. So there are so many things in play here. So you can never know when exactly each person sees that, really, with liking. But yeah, with posts, you can schedule it, and then still LinkedIn will kind of optimize things. But yeah, mornings and evenings, it is. No. Any more questions? Yeah.
Is it important, the frequency that we post or that we publish something? Or the content that we post about?
Yeah. So, I mean, it will not really damage you if you don't post anything. It just will not give you anything, so to say, right? But it is helpful to post maybe once a day, maybe every other day, something like that. So to maintain a certain frequency, because, you know, people will see more of your posts, people will engage with them more and things like that. That said, well, when we advise organizations, you also don't want to like overpost, of course. You don't want to post 5 posts per day, because maybe some people will just stop following you eventually because it's too much. Yeah, but I think like a good recommendation is maybe every day, every other day, 3-4 times a week, if you will, something like that is a reasonable amount for our average user, so to say.
I have a recommendation. It's something called LinkedIn Social Selling Index.
Yeah.
So there's a link. We can share that with the authors, but you can actually see sort of like how visible you are to others, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
To see. So there's an index. So if you're over 7, you're on that index, your visibility for your posts are sort of increased.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that can be a curious thing to look at, your social selling index. And I think that, so if you see that it's lower than you want it to be, then you can think, okay, maybe I need more connections. I need to post more frequently, you know. And when you're thinking about what to post, think about, again, your professional brand, all right? Who you are, who you want to be. So kind of, and start thinking around those areas. How can I contribute? Maybe I want to write my own thoughts. Maybe I want to write a short article about something that I've been working on. Or maybe I have you know, interesting thoughts around a certain area. Or maybe I want to ask my audience a question, what they think on certain topics. So think about it in that way, but think it, again, from the perspective of your professional brand.
A question from the online audience too. It said there's someone who wonders how to handle languages on LinkedIn, local versus English, and impact on findability.
Yes, very good question. So there is actually a really great way to manage your languages on LinkedIn, and that is to have your profile in several languages. So when you're on your profile, there is this button here, add profile in another language. And this is where you can choose a language and you can fill it in kind of separately from your original profile. I personally only have an English, but for example, if you want to have it in your native language and maybe in English and maybe in some other language, maybe you have 2 native languages, or you're looking for a job in a country where it's important with the local language, for example, or something like that. So you can add several like that. And the nice part with that, so someone who, for example, you have your profile in German and in English, someone who has their language on LinkedIn as German, they will see your German profile, but the rest will see English, for example. So whoever has that language will see their respective language, and otherwise it will be English. Was there any more questions in the chat? Yeah.
So recruiters in Sweden, if they would have Swedish as their default language, they will, would it be wise to make a Swedish profile, or would you say the Swedish kind of recruiting sphere, English is enough?
Well, honestly, I mean, when I moved here 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I didn't have a profile in Swedish. I didn't speak Swedish. And my first 2 jobs I got without speaking Swedish, and my profile has always been in English. So, I mean, it's so individual. I guess maybe there's companies, there's certain people, absolutely, who will be biased. And, or maybe they're looking for a native Swedish speaker and they'll be then in doubt. Can you speak Swedish? Or, you know, stuff like that. But overall, I think in Sweden, it's kind of quite international here, so maybe it's okay. Especially if you don't speak Swedish. I don't know if you do, but if you don't, maybe like no need to create a Swedish profile. Like, because then it gives a wrong message that you actually speak Swedish, and why would you want to confuse people? Right.
Quick question on this. So if you do have a profile in another language, for example, Swedish, is the person viewing it in Swedish able to tell that it's translated? And are you actually able to manually create it, or is it auto?
I'm sorry. If you have a profile in a different language, is it automatically translated? And if it is automatically translated, can the viewer see that it was automatically translated? And the reason I ask is that Google Translate, DeepL, all these algorithms, they're not super good at translating things perfectly. There might be mistakes or errors. For example, if you do that on your site on WordPress, and that's a big turnoff sometimes if you look at something because you think you might be doing a spelling mistake, for example.
No, but I think if you're referring to what I showed with managing languages, you're creating separate profiles. So you fill it in the right way, in what you think is the right way. Separate from your English version, let's say, or vice versa, you know, if you see what I mean. So it's up to you to fill it in kind of in the right way. It will not be automatically translated.
Okay.
Unless, I don't know, they copy paste into Google or something.
Okay.
But that
answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah. No more questions for now? Yeah. Yeah, but I think kind of I almost, maybe I did cover everything I actually wanted to cover here. And we are very much on time, surprisingly. So if anyone is interested in some specific areas, I can just cover that now, or if there's more questions.
When you update your profile, sometimes you can put it in a way so you don't send any message to your network. And what is included and what is not included, because my network, they probably don't want to see all my updates. So can I have it off and then update so that when everything is done, I can tell the LinkedIn to send, now it's updated.
Yeah, I think that what you need to do is when you're editing your profile, this notify network, as long as this is off, no one will be notified. If you switch this on, then they will be notified. So like that, just keep an eye on if it's on or off. And yeah. Something I actually wanted to mention about posts that I realized I didn't mention. So giving that example, for example, when someone's looking for help or for a job, to tag people, how do you make a post? I mean, like, of course, there is no right and wrong in here, but some things that do help visibility of your posts is tagging someone, because when you tag someone, again, people not only in your network but also in their network will see your post. Simple as that. Another thing is hashtags, and there are people on LinkedIn who, for example, follow certain hashtags. So look up what hashtags are the most followed, and that you can do in my network, for example, I follow like 12 hashtags, and then I can see, okay, hashtag recruitment, how many followers are there? Oh, it's 2.6 million. That's actually quite good. So if the post is related to that specific, topic, why not add that? And then these people will also see that that post when the hashtag is added. So hashtags is a good way. And then, of course, that's not rocket science, but call to action is something that really helps. So whenever you're posting about something, you can ask a question, even if it's just your thoughts you're sharing. You can ask the audience a question. So what does everyone else think? You can make a poll as well. That's another way to get more traction. But you can just kind of even ask a rhetorical question that provokes thinking. That can sometimes be a good way to get engagement. And of course, rich media, pictures, videos, all of that, that helps a lot. If you want to add external link, just 1 second. If you want to add external link, maybe better to add in the comments than in the post itself, because external links sometimes it's not so good for engagement.
So the question was, how do you go to the screen to see the list of the hashtags?
So it's my network, and then you click on hashtags over here. And this is where you can see all the hashtags. Was there any more questions? No.
Maybe it's a bit of a background question about your interlinkage with companies and when they are doing job posts, because I assume, of course, big companies try to post as much as possible on LinkedIn, but I'm wondering how, for instance, a recruiter, like they would publish it on the company's job page, and how easily they could publish it on LinkedIn. And when you actually apply on LinkedIn, where does it land? Does it land only on their LinkedIn recruiter account, or you also try to set up some kind of integrations time to time with companies, like some APIs in the background with the big ones?
You've come to the right person, because I've worked with this a lot. Well, if you really want to know, then there are different ways. So it kind of depends on the way the job's posted. And if you go to, for example, I'm going to Microsoft again. If you see an apply button like this, you can see a link out. Yeah, that means it will take you to another page. This is where you can already choose share your profile with employer or not. If you leave it on, they will, even if you don't fill your application later, they will see your profile in Recruiter actually, as one of the people that clicked apply on the job. So to increase your own visibility, do that. Why not? I'm not going to do it for now. Then when you continue, like for this type of application, you will be taken to Microsoft page, for example, right? So you can fill in your application from here. That will land you in their recruitment system, simple as that. Another type of jobs on LinkedIn. And let me see if I find any, but sometimes you see here, easy apply. Easy apply is, first of all, you apply with one click, basically. So you don't need to kind of fill in the whole form. So it's much faster. And you can also just apply with your profile without adding anything, but you can add if you want. Then your application will be connected in LinkedIn Recruiter, collected in LinkedIn Recruiter, or in some cases, yes, we do have integrations that will still land you in the recruitment system. But it depends on the organization really. But then it will be, if that's the case, if we do have that integration, it will be both Recruiter and that place.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wonder about like your profile then when you are describing your job. You said you should make it basically like the more the merrier. So because you don't want to miss out any important keywords in the description, so what you've been doing, etc. Like when I create like more of a normal or regular CV that I send to company, I usually want to keep it very short and crisp. So would you say that I should try to like expand this? And have like them separate because it serves the purpose more here to have it longer with more words, etc. Or
yeah, well, that's a really good question because yeah, you're absolutely right. CV, you usually are limited with 1 page or 2 pages max. Probably no one wants to read a super long CV. But the LinkedIn profiles, first of all, they are like how do you say? I'm going to show. It's you know, the sections you look at, you can see more, but it's kind of congested into a smaller. And the same with job descriptions. So think about the first things you write, because this is what people mostly see, and if they don't click. But for the algorithms purposes, for example, to be more seen, you can write a bit more, right? So there is no rule on LinkedIn that you have to stay within 1 page, and that's nice because you can, you know, choose what's actually important and not leave out stuff that you think is important, but you have to leave it out because of the space, so to say. But that said, I don't want to give you the idea that, oh, you should just write and write and write like crazy. No, of course not. Be reasonable, make sure that it looks nice, but also make sure that important skills, important details about yourself are not missed out. That's, I guess, the simple way to put this. Any more questions? No?
A little fun question. Is it on now? How many does have a LinkedIn profile here in the audience, at least with hands up then? So that's pretty much everyone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good to know. And then just a question I had like last time we were out, Anna, I think just a little bit tip on the URL. People were thinking about how can you make that a little bit shorter? Because you use that maybe in your emails, or in maybe you're also creating a CV for yourself, or want to send it to someone here, you can read about me.
That's really
So
good.
it's you can just go in and change that. You put it's here, this little one. You press there onto the pen, and then you scroll down, and then you say edit contact info, and then you see your URL there. You don't have a short one there, Anna.
No.
Okay, so if you press this little there, you can go and you can customize your URL if you want to make it look professional when you send it out.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
you do it. I clicked on it now, but this is where once you
Yes,
get to
you
it,
get there.
this is where you can actually change it. Yeah.
So that is something that I think as well is really helpful for now if you want to keep it short and a little bit personalized for yourself.
Note to self, I need to update that.
Okay, just ask one more question.
Yeah, sure. We have time.
So now, I mean, most of us here are younger. So what I see when I add somebody, it's when I write a note, it's so much better response.
Yeah.
But sometimes I write the note a little bit too long, and then it creates a question, and they don't connect. So what works very well, it's a short note, so short, so it doesn't create any effort, but they still know at least you have met. It was more like a feedback or some sort of input.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really agree with that.
And 90% they would say yes.
Good for you. Yeah.
But also, I think
Yeah.
when we are expanding.
Yeah, of course. We do recommend to write a short message, absolutely. And I do agree with you. If it's too long, there's a limit in there. But even so, if it's too long, it can be sometimes. Yeah. So think about the shorter version of it. Yeah.
There's a question from the chat wondering about the background picture. So the picture behind your profile picture. Do you have any tips for that picture? Should it be about work, spare time, etc.?
Well, again, it all boils down to your professional brand, I think. Some people prefer to have, I don't know, a picture of their office or their school. Some people prefer something else. You know, there was this example of a person I saw a profile of who had themselves, I believe it was skiing, but some kind of sport. And then you think, should you do that? Should you not do that? And then I saw that that person actually used to be like a super professional sports person. And now they changed career. So that shaped her as a, you know, as a professional as well. And that's important for her. So again, that's her brand. But overall, no, it's not for, you know, showcasing something super personal. No, I wouldn't say that. It's for rather, again, contributing to your professional brand. Yeah.
And then just a little bit of a networking trick. If you don't know about it, and I don't know if it's a party trick, I would say as well, but if you use your mobile and you are out on the network, I mean, you want to connect to people, you can simply do that by, you can press the search, and then there's a little QR code if you see on your mobile. So if you press that one, you can use your camera, and you can just quickly, when you stand and talk to someone, you can just say, okay, please, let's connect. So you don't have to send something or find someone on LinkedIn. You just press that little search where you open your LinkedIn profile, press search, and then the QR code comes there. And then you just you know, connect to each other when you're talking with each other.
So basically, instead of the business card, this is what you can use.
This is the way of a business card. So a little bit of a trick there as well.
Yeah, and it's in my network. So my network, and then you click on that little person with plus, right? I think that's what, and then there is a QR code. Here also, I go via my network. Sorry.
You can go both ways.
Every time I run a session like this, I learn something new. So
good. Thank you.
All right. More questions on the chat? No?
I don't think there are any more questions, unless there are any more questions here. Because then that would just lead me to saying thank you so much for this very enlightening session on how to improve our LinkedIn visibility and use it to our best ability here. So do have a quick look at the summary about yourselves, check your photos, check the little tip I gave you there on your visibility. We'll send it to you all afterwards too. We will also share with you this recording. And I hope that you've enjoyed this as much as I did and found it enlightening. Also, I want to make sure to ask you to please fill out the post-event survey that we will circulate to you all after this session, together with the recording and all of the other good stuff that we got with us today. So thank you, and you're welcome outside to go enjoy some food. And thank you also everybody who participated online.